Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to talk about our second issue of the Dallas and Boston game. We're going to talk about, in particular, how Dallas adjusted to what Boston did and discuss whether they're going to be able to potentially do that in game 2 or whether it's something they probably won't be able to do. Let's go. All right, so the first thing we got to establish off the bat is the thing I talked about in yesterday's video was how Boston essentially sent aggressive help early. This usually came from the player that was guarding their worst, the Dallas worst shooters, the Derrick Jones Jr. situation. So Porzingis is helping off, making sure Kyrie doesn't get to the rim, and essentially allowing Derrick Jones Jr. to shoot this ball. This was the Celtics' philosophy, and in the second half, we can look to see how Dallas countered it. So the first other prerequisite that we need to establish is that Boston was fairly willing to switch a lot of ball screens. So if they were able to set a screen up high and be able to essentially get Luka going downhill fast enough, they were able to switch between Horford now guards Luka and Jaylen Brown is now guarding Derrick Jones Jr. So this was a key part of what the Mavs ultimately ended up doing in the second half that led to their big run. All right, so the key thing here is essentially what we're seeing is we're watching how they handle Luka and how they handle Al Horford. Al Horford was who we deemed the help essentially because he was guarding Derrick Jones. Okay, so as this ball screen is going to happen, okay, this off-ball screen also happened. Okay, as this happened, what did the Celtics do? They switched. So we discussed that the Celtics were going to switch, and then not only that, in this situation, they also set a ball screen up here to get the switch here as well. So what does this do? One, it takes Al Horford and it puts him on a shooter in the corner. He can no longer help. He has to stay home. Two, it makes it so the rim protector here is now Brown, who's just a little bit less effective as a rim protector, and he has to stay a little bit closer because Gafford is going to have the athletic ability and the size and the length on him just slightly. Okay, so this essentially what this does is it just puts the Celtics in a slightly less comfortable position, and it gives Luka much more freedom to try and drive one-on-one because the help is going to be slower to rotate, and Horford is not going to be one helping, so there's going to be less length when he gets to the rim. Later in the third quarter, we're seeing that all this happened primarily in the second half. This was something that they kind of addressed later in the game. Didn't happen early in the fly, but it did happen at halftime, which is good to see from Jason Kidd. So again, we have that ball screen. Okay, we get Al Horford attached to someone that can drive. Okay, Kyrie is a good three-point shooting threat and can also drive. And we have the essentially dunker spot is a threat right here. Putting Al Horford with Kyrie Irving gives, in general, the Mavs more space to work with because everyone has to come out, and having decent shooters spread around the court. Doncic you have to stay close to. PJ Washington in the corner you have to stay close to. And this is a tough assignment to come all the way help for Jrue Holiday. Creates an open look for Kyrie Irving because of that. Okay, again, we can see every single time they're targeting this. They're trying to get Al Horford involved on this switch, so that way Luka is able to essentially drive by him or Kyrie is able to drive by him. Okay, so as this switch happens, the post is going down there. Luka is taking this situation to essentially drive. Brown cannot help off very much because of the dunking threat that the post provides, and Luka is again able to get another easy look at the rim. This was the stretch that Dallas really went on the run, and a big part of it was because they were able to exploit Boston's defense in this situation. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do it earlier, but at least the fact they were able to do it in the second half shows that they're potentially in a decent spot for Game 2. Again, we got the switch on that ball screen. We got Al Horford and Luka. That is what Dallas wants. And this is frankly a difficult shot, but getting this is still going to be better than if Jrue Holiday is guarding you. And then, so we saw one high-level concept from Boston to avoid this situation in the first place, which is this you have to have 5 players really, really working together. So we're watching Derrick White and Porzingis. Okay, so the post for Dallas is the one that's going to come up the screen. And why is that? They want to get Porzingis on the switch so that way it's a mismatch with Luka in space. Okay, what does Derrick White do? Derrick White points to the corner, says Porzingis, go out there. Derrick White now becomes the player that is going to switch on the screen, making it so that Porzingis is not left on an island with Luka and everyone else is essentially able to stay home. This is a high-level defense that is difficult, even though he buries the shot. It's a good shot from Luka. This is a difficult defense to execute, and it shows Boston's awareness. I've heard this system called a pre-switch. I've heard it called a couple different things before. However, it's very effective if you can get all 5 players working together. So again, we're looking at, see how Porzingis handles it. Okay, post coming up to set the screen. Hey, what does Boston do? Porzingis is pointing, says, Pritchard, you just go up there, you take my spot, and Porzingis is going to go out here to Derrick Jones. Okay, Boston runs it seamlessly and is able to essentially put 2 on the ball and keep a guard in front of Luka, which leads to a steal and a Boston attack in transition. And then the ultimate result, which is I think Boston will probably frankly go to this until Dallas proves they can punish it, is that whenever you just have a ball screen, one thing the Timberwolves did is they trapped up here, which I hate. I absolutely hated that. I tried to make that as clear as I could in the videos. However, what Boston does is instead of trapping up there, they just wait until the drive happens and then show help. They're okay with Luka shooting difficult mid-range shots. They simply don't want either easy shots on the perimeter, easy layups at the rim, or dunks at the rim. So Boston can create these shots by essentially ignoring this player that goes all the way across because he's not that great of a three-point shooter, doesn't look to shoot the three, whatever it is. That is going to be a great game plan for Boston if Dallas cannot punish it. So in conclusion, I think Dallas, there's a lot of hope simply because they had such a much better quarter 3 than they did quarter 1 and quarter 2, and they were able to respond. And if they can essentially keep it so that Luka and Kyrie have effective matchups, then I think they're going to be okay. However, I think the real big issue is Dallas has got to find somebody that can shoot either the effective corner threes for sure, and then the effective above the break threes to make sure they can space out Boston and punish them for sending extra help. It just creates so many more opportunities for them on offense if they're able to do that. If you enjoyed this, feel free to like and subscribe. Most importantly, have a blessed rest of your day.